This is the end for us. I found someone new. Robert's words cut through the happy sounds of our son's wedding dinner like a knife through cake. The fancy hotel dining room went silent. Every person at every table stopped talking and stared at us. My husband of 32 years stood there with his wine glass, acting like he had just said something normal. Our son Michael's big day was turning into a nightmare. The woman sitting across from me, his secretary Emma, gave me a little smile. She knew this was coming. Everyone was watching me, waiting to see what I would do. I'll tell you everything. First, let me thank you for watching Granny's Voice. Please subscribe and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We might give you a shout out in our next video. Today's special shout out goes to Restina Harris from Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you for being part of our family. Now let me tell you everything. My name is Margaret Wilson. I am 58 years old. For over 30 years I took care of everyone else. I cooked Robert's meals. I washed his clothes. I raised our 2 children while he worked late every night. I thought he was working hard for our family. I was wrong. Emma sat there in her red dress, looking pleased with herself. She had been coming to our house for dinner parties. She helped me plan Robert's surprise birthday party last year. She even gave me advice about flower gardens. Everyone kept staring at me. They expected me to cry or yell or run away. Instead, I smiled and said, "Thanks for the heads up." I reached into my purse and pulled out a white envelope. I placed it next to Robert's dinner plate very carefully. "What's that?" he asked. His confident look was starting to change. "Just a little something for you to look at later," I said in my normal voice. I turned to my son Michael, who looked like he wanted to disappear under the table. "Honey, this is still your special day," I told Michael. "Don't let anyone ruin it." I kissed his cheek and stood up. I smoothed my blue dress and looked around the room at all our family and friends. "Please enjoy your dinner, everyone. Have a wonderful evening." Then I walked toward the door. Every single person watched me leave. The heavy doors closed behind me and I could hear people starting to whisper loudly. Outside in the hotel hallway, I could finally breathe again. The doors flew open behind me. Robert came running out, no longer acting cool and calm. "Margaret, what is this? What did you do?" he shouted. I kept walking toward the elevator. The envelope I gave him had the first part of my plan inside. A plan I had been working on for 6 whole months. I had always been the one who handled our money. While Robert spent our savings on fancy dinners and expensive gifts for Emma, I was making sure we didn't go broke. I was the one who paid all our bills when Robert decided to buy a motorcycle at age 55. I was the one who worked extra hours at the bank when he quit his job to find himself by trying to become an artist. That lasted 3 months. My dream of opening my own bakery was always put off. After the kids graduate, I told myself. After Robert gets stable. 6 months ago, I found out where our money was really going. Robert had been taking money from our savings account. Small amounts at first, then bigger ones. I could have asked him about it right away. But something made me wait. Maybe I already knew the truth. Instead, I started watching and investigating like a detective. What I found made me sick to my stomach. Robert had opened a secret bank account. He was putting our money in there. He was also spending thousands of dollars on Emma. Expensive restaurants, jewelry, weekend trips to the beach. All while telling me we needed to save money for retirement. Then I found his text messages. He left his phone on the kitchen counter one morning. The messages were all about their future together. About how he was going to leave me right after Michael's wedding so he wouldn't ruin the big day. How thoughtful of him. What Robert forgot was that I worked at First National Bank for 25 years. I knew how to trace money. I knew about legal papers. And most importantly, I remembered something very important. When we got married, Robert made me sign a special agreement to protect his family's money. That agreement had a rule about being faithful. If one person cheated, they would lose almost everything. Robert had insisted on this rule because his first wife had cheated on him. How ironic. While Robert was planning his escape with Emma, I was building my case against him. I talked to lawyers. I wrote down every secret money transfer. I took pictures of his text messages. I prepared divorce papers. I timed everything perfectly. I knew Robert would wait until after the wedding to make his big announcement. What he didn't know was that I had already filed the divorce papers that morning. But the court records wouldn't be available for him to see until Monday. I was always thinking 3 steps ahead. I didn't go back to the wedding dinner. Instead, I drove home to our big house on Maple Street. The house we bought 20 years ago with my inheritance money. The house Robert had already promised to Emma in his text messages. The house that would soon be mine alone. I parked in our driveway and walked into what used to be our happy home. All the wedding photos on the walls. All the furniture we picked out together. The kitchen where I cooked thousands of meals. Everything looked the same, but everything had changed forever. I went upstairs to look in Robert's closet. His suitcases were already packed and hidden behind his winter coats. He was ready to leave tomorrow morning. I had to laugh at how predictable he was. My phone started buzzing with messages from people at the wedding. From Michael, from my sister Linda, from Robert's brother Tom. I only answered Michael's message. "I'm okay, sweetheart. This isn't your problem to worry about. Enjoy your wedding night. We'll talk tomorrow. I love you so much." I had kept this secret from both my children for months. I didn't want to ruin Michael's engagement and wedding planning. They would be upset that I didn't tell them, but they would understand eventually. 3 hours later, I heard Robert's car pulling into the driveway very fast. The front door slammed open so hard it shook the house. "Margaret!" he yelled like a crazy person. "Where are you?" I was sitting calmly in the living room with a cup of tea, looking at legal papers on my laptop. I closed it when he stomped in, his face red and angry. The envelope was crushed in his sweaty hand. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, shaking the papers at me. "You served me with divorce papers today. On our son's wedding day. I thought it matched nicely with your plans," I said calmly. "You wanted to end our marriage today. I'm just helping make it happen faster." "You had no right to do this," he shouted. "I had every right," I said back. "Just like you had every right to choose Emma over me. We all make choices, Robert. The agreement from when we got married expired years ago," he said, suddenly acting smug. "Any lawyer will tell you that." I smiled a little bit. "Actually, it didn't expire. Section 15 says the faithfulness rule stays in effect for the whole marriage. Your lawyer should have told you that." "Oh wait, you didn't talk to a lawyer first, did you?" Robert's face went white as he realized what this meant. The agreement he had made me sign to protect his money would now take away everything from him. Our house, our vacation cabin by the lake. His part of our retirement money. His big announcement at the wedding dinner had just become the most expensive speech of his life. "You can't do this to me," Robert said, falling onto the couch like a deflated balloon. "We built this life together. And you chose to tear it apart," I replied. "Just not the way you planned." Robert's phone kept buzzing in his pocket. He looked at it and ignored it. Probably Emma wondering where he was and why he wasn't following their plan. "You've always been smart, Margaret. But this is just mean," he said, trying to make me feel guilty. "What about our 32 years together? Doesn't that mean anything?" I looked at this man I had loved for over 30 years. The man who held me when my mother died. The man who cried happy tears when our babies were born. The man who used to bring me flowers every Friday. When did he change? Or had he always been selfish, and I was too busy taking care of everyone to notice? "Our 32 years meant everything to me," I said truthfully. "That's why your cheating hurt so much." His angry face softened a little. Maybe he thought he could still fix this. "Then maybe we can work this out. People make mistakes. I made a mistake." "This wasn't a mistake, Robert. This was a plan you made for over a year. You stole our money. You looked at apartments with her. You planned to embarrass me in public." His face got hard again. "You're making it sound worse than it was." "Am I?" I picked up my phone and played a recording. It was Robert's own voice saying terrible things about me. After the wedding, I'll tell her it's over. Doing it in public is better. She won't make a scene in front of everyone. Then Emma's voice. And she has no idea about the money? Robert again. None at all. Margaret trusts me completely. That's her biggest weakness. The blood drained from his face completely. You recorded our private conversations. That's against the law. Not in our state when it's in your own house, I said. And I only recorded conversations about your plans to steal from me. Robert jumped up, looking panicked. I need to make some phone calls. Of course, I said. Your lawyer might be a good place to start. I'll be staying at Tom's house tonight. Tom's house, he sputtered. My brother's house. He nodded. He's quite angry with you actually. He saw you and Emma together at the mall last month. He didn't tell me right away. He asked you about it first. You promised him it was nothing, that you would stop seeing her. When he realized you lied, he came to me. This was another shock Robert wasn't ready for. Tom and I had always gotten along well, but Robert never thought his own brother would take my side. Everyone's turning against me, he muttered sadly. Interesting, isn't it? I got my purse and a small bag I had packed earlier. You have until tomorrow night to take your things from the house. After that, I'm changing all the locks. As I walked toward the door, Robert called after me desperately. What about the kids? Have you thought about how this will affect Michael and Sarah? I stopped walking, feeling angry for the first time. Don't you dare use our children as an excuse, Robert. You sure weren't thinking about them when you were planning your new apartment life with Emma. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked at it and groaned loudly. Problem? Asked sweetly. Emma is at the apartment already. She's moved all her stuff in. I couldn't help but smile even bigger. The apartment you put both your names on? The lease you signed last month. Robert nodded, looking confused. You might want to call the apartment office. That application was rejected because of credit problems. The manager called our house phone to check information. I handled the call myself. I walked out the door, leaving Robert to face the first of many problems. His perfectly planned new life was falling apart faster than a house of cards. Tom lived in a nice house across town, close to the college where he taught history. When I got there, he gave me a big hug at the front door. I just talked to Michael, he said, bringing me inside. Are you doing okay? I'm better than I thought I would be, I said honestly, following him to the kitchen where coffee was already made. I never thought Robert would make such a big scene, Tom said, pouring 2 cups. At the wedding dinner in front of everyone. He's lost his mind completely. It was meant to embarrass me, I explained, taking the warm cup. A public rejection so I couldn't fight back without looking crazy. Tom's face got dark with anger. My brother always liked drama, but this is beyond anything I expected. We sat in his cozy living room with books everywhere. Tom had never gotten married, choosing his teaching career and freedom instead. Over the years, I had sometimes wished I had that kind of independence. What did you put in that envelope that upset him so much? Mask. I explained everything. The divorce filing, the evidence of his stealing, and most importantly, the marriage agreement that would leave him with much less than he planned. The agreement. Tom laughed. I remember when he insisted on that. Dad had just died and left him some money for his business. He was so worried about protecting it. He laughed bitterly. This is so ironic. My phone rang. It was Michael. I took a deep breath before answering. Mom, he said, his voice shaky. I'm coming over to Uncle Tom's house. Honey, you don't need to do that. I'm already driving there, he interrupted. Dad is telling everyone at the hotel that you've gone crazy, that you've been planning this for months. He's saying horrible things about you. Course he was. Robert always changed the story to make himself look like the victim. Let him talk, I said. The truth will come out soon enough. 20 minutes later, Michael arrived, still wearing his wedding tuxedo but looking completely exhausted. He hugged me tight like he used to when he was little and had bad dreams. "Why didn't you tell me what was happening?" he asked, his voice shaking. "I didn't want to ruin your engagement and wedding planning," I explained. "You worked so hard for this special day." He pulled back, wiping his eyes. "Well, Dad took care of ruining it himself." We moved to Tom's living room where Michael finally heard the whole story. How I discovered the affair, the money stealing, and all the plans Robert and Emma had made. "I knew something was wrong with Dad," Michael admitted. "He's been acting strange. Always on his phone, never really listening when we talked. But I never imagined anything like this. None of us want to see bad things in people we love," Tom said gently. My phone buzzed with a text from David Chen, my lawyer. The emergency court filing had been approved. The bank accounts I had found were frozen until the divorce was finished. Robert now had limited access to money. Enough for basic living, but not enough to buy the beachfront condo he had planned with Emma. I showed the message to Tom and Michael. "Good," Michael said firmly. "He deserves whatever he gets." My son's loyalty made me feel warm inside, but I wasn't naive about this situation. "He's still your father," I reminded Michael. "Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us." Michael shook his head hard. "Maybe someday I'll forgive him, but right now I can't even stand to look at him." He hugged me this morning and said how proud he was of me, all while planning to destroy our family a few hours later. The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. Tom went to answer it and came back looking troubled. "It's Robert," he said quietly. "And Emma is with him." I got ready for another confrontation as Tom led them into the living room. Emma looked very uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot and looking around nervously. She was 42 years old, not super young but still 16 years younger than me. She had short brown hair and the kind of confidence that comes from never facing real problems. Robert, however, looked furious. His earlier panic had turned into pure anger. "Margaret, you need to stop this crazy behavior right now," he demanded. "Unfreeze the bank accounts. We can talk about this like grown-ups." Michael stood up, putting himself between Robert and me. "Maybe you should have tried acting like a grown-up before announcing your affair at my wedding dinner, Dad." Robert's eyes got wide like he just noticed our son was there. "Michael, this doesn't concern you." "Doesn't concern me," Michael repeated, sounding shocked. "You destroyed our family on my wedding day and it doesn't concern me?" Emma touched Robert's arm nervously. "Rob, maybe we should leave." He pushed her hand away roughly. "No, I'm not leaving until Margaret agrees to be reasonable about this." Tom crossed his arms angrily. "Margaret seems to be the only reasonable person here. You're the one who made this mess, Robert." I stayed sitting down, watching all the drama happen around me. For years, I had been the peacekeeper, the one who fixed fights and kept everyone happy. That job was exhausting and I was finally done with it. "The bank accounts will stay frozen until the court hearing," I said calmly. "That's in 3 days. The judge will decide how to split our money then." 3 days. Robert sputtered angrily. "What am I supposed to do for 3 days?" "You have your personal account," I reminded him. "The one you've been putting money into for the past year. That should be enough for now." Emma's head snapped toward Robert with surprise. "You have a separate account? With how much money in it?" An interesting situation was developing. Clearly, Robert hadn't been completely honest with Emma either. Robert ignored her question completely. "This is just revenge, Margaret. This isn't like you at all. Maybe you never really knew the real me," I replied calmly. "Just like I apparently never knew the real you." Michael turned to Emma with fire in his eyes. "Did you know he was going to make that announcement at my wedding dinner?" Emma had the decency to look ashamed and embarrassed. I thought he was going to talk to your mother privately. The public announcement today was a complete surprise to me." Robert shot Emma a look of betrayal. Cracks were already showing in their partnership. "I think you both need to leave right now," Tom said firmly. "You've upset Michael and Margaret enough for one day." "Michael," Robert pleaded desperately. You understand that relationships change sometimes, right? Sometimes people grow apart and fall out of love. My son's face got harder than I had ever seen before. What I understand is that you're a coward who couldn't even give Mom the respect of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 part-time jobs to help pay for college because you said money was tight. Robert went pale. That's not how it happened. It's exactly how it happened. Michael cut him off angrily. Please leave, Dad. I can't stand to look at you right now. The silence that followed felt like it went on forever. Finally, Robert turned to go, with Emma following behind him like a lost puppy. At the door, he stopped and looked back at me one more time. This isn't over, Margaret. I'll fight you in court over this. I met his angry stare with my calm one. You're welcome to try your best. After they left, Michael collapsed next to me on the couch, tears running down his face. I've never talked to Dad like that before. I put my arm around his shoulders. Sometimes standing up for what's right is painful, but it's still the right thing to do. Tom brought us fresh cups of coffee. To new beginnings, he said, raising his cup in the air. Indeed, I thought to myself. This ending was really just the beginning of something completely new and different. The court hearing happened in a small courtroom on a cloudy Thursday morning. I arrived with my lawyer David, while Robert came with a lawyer he had quickly hired, a young man from a law firm that usually handled business cases, not divorce cases. Robert's poor choice of legal help was yet another result of his rushed planning. The judge was an older woman with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She read through our marriage agreement very carefully. This document appears to be completely valid, she said, looking over her glasses at Robert's lawyer. Do you question whether it's real? The young lawyer cleared his throat nervously. Your Honor, we believe the agreement expired because so much time has passed. Section 22 clearly states that the duration is for the length of the marriage plus any legal proceedings that result from ending it, the judge read out loud. There is no expiration date mentioned anywhere. Robert leaned forward to whisper urgently to his lawyer, who looked more and more uncomfortable. Furthermore, the judge continued, the evidence of systematic money transfers appears to violate the financial honesty requirements in Section 28. She shuffled through more papers, then looked up sternly. I am ruling to keep the freeze on joint accounts until full financial discovery is complete. Mr. Wilson's personal account will remain available to him. The family home will stay in Mrs. Wilson's possession during proceedings, as stated in the marriage agreement's cheating clause. Robert's face turned dark red with anger. This is completely unfair, he muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. The judge fixed him with a stern look that could freeze water. Mr. Wilson, I suggest you read the agreement you signed more carefully. This court will meet again in 30 days for the full hearing after discovery is finished. As we left the courtroom, Robert caught up to me in the hallway outside. Margaret, please. We need to talk about this like reasonable people. 32 years of marriage has to count for something important. It counted for everything to me, I replied honestly. Until you decided it counted for nothing. I walked away, leaving him standing alone in the courthouse hallway, finally understanding the weight of what he had done. Word spread quickly through our small town. Friends called every day, some offering support, others just looking for gossip. I kept quiet about the details, simply saying, Robert and I are getting divorced. These things happen sometimes. Meanwhile, Robert's carefully built image was crumbling like a cookie. The reputation he had worked so hard to create, successful businessman, devoted family man, pillar of the community, was ruined beyond repair. The money freeze meant he couldn't keep the promises he had made to Emma. The beachfront condo they had been planning to buy together fell through completely. The expensive sports car he had put a down payment on had to be cancelled. 2 weeks after the court hearing, Tom called me with amusement in his voice. Have you heard the latest news about Robert and Emma? What now? Yes. Emma moved out of his apartment already. I wasn't totally surprised, but the speed was impressive. Apparently, she found out that Robert's business isn't doing as well as he told her it was. The big savings he bragged about don't actually exist. She told her friend Karen that she didn't sign up to date a man with money problems. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. He always was good at making things seem better than they really were. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life from scratch. The financial security I had always kept separate from our joint accounts gave me freedom Robert never expected me to have. I rented a small office space downtown and began setting up the bakery I had dreamed about for years. My first customers were neighbors who remembered my homemade cookies from school fundraisers. Word of mouth brought more people. I specialized in custom cakes for special occasions, weddings, birthdays, anniversaries. The work was immediately satisfying in a way my bank job never had been. Michael, who had moved to Atlanta for his new marketing job, called me regularly. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," he told me after I described my growing customer list. "You're finally doing what makes you happy." "I'm just doing what I should have done years ago," I replied. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 33rd anniversary. A perfect ending to a chapter of my life that had lasted over 3 decades. Robert arrived looking terrible. I later learned that his business was failing without my financial support and smart advice. Emma was long gone, already dating a doctor from the next town over. Most of our mutual friends had distanced themselves from him after learning the full truth about his lies and cheating. The judge upheld our marriage agreement completely. Robert left with his personal belongings, his struggling business, and the money in his private account, which after paying his lawyer was barely enough to rent a small apartment across town. I kept our family home, my retirement accounts, and 75% of our joint investments, exactly as the marriage agreement stated for cases of adultery. The justice was poetic and perfect. The very document Robert had insisted on to protect himself had become his complete downfall. Thanks for watching Granny's Voice. Please subscribe.